We can learn so much from nature, but fewer and fewer children get to spend quality time in our natural world. The Last Child in the Woods by Richard Louv is a guide to the benefits of nature, the barriers that stop us from enjoying it, and what we can do to help a new generation experience the wonders of the environment. But what does nature provide? In nature, a child finds freedom, fantasy, and privacy, a place distant from the adult world, a separate piece. Many transcendent childhood experiences happen in nature, from the birth of new kittens to finding a dead baby bird on the ground or looking up at the stars. Nature has a lot to teach us about our world. Each nature experience calls to mind the countless humans who did the same before you and who will after. You can see your place in the world in this moment of time. Your life is put into perspective. Sebastian Sanstefano, the director of the Institute for Child and Adolescent Development, explains how nature plays a significant role in helping traumatized children. Nature helps adolescents work through issues. Any piece of landscape can be interpreted and given meaning to in infinite ways. While one child may see a small hill as a grave, another may see it as the belly of a pregnant woman. Compared to traditional games and toys, a stuffed rabbit will almost always be a stuffed rabbit. Children who have experienced trauma in childhood are often on guard in a state of hypervigilance. They feel as though they cannot protect their environment and that something bad could happen at any time. These children have a hard time regulating their fight or flight reflexes. In contrast, being in nature has been shown to contribute to a more reflective hyper-awareness as children take in their environment. Children who spend time in nature can observe direct cause and effect in their environment, giving them a sense of self-agency through observation. They are on guard when it's appropriate, but can also balance it with being relaxed. In The Last Child in the Woods, Richard Louv compiles staggering studies and evidence that being in nature is linked to a multitude of positive characteristics, including an increase of the following: agility, balance, ability to concentrate, attention span, math skills, problem solving, conflict resolution, science concept skills, recovery time from injuries, self-esteem, interpersonal skills, leadership, enhanced body image, initiative, self-direction, creativity, and resistance to negative stresses and depression.
What? So many benefits!
This is particularly significant for children who are neurodivergent. In 2000, Wells conducted a study that found that being close to nature in general helps boost a child's attention span. Children with ADHD and ADD showed better motor coordination and more ability to concentrate, relieving and reducing the symptoms of ADD. Being in nature improves children's cognitive abilities and resistance to negative stresses and depression. Little Falls High School in Minnesota reports that their students in their environmental-based program had 54% fewer suspensions than the other ninth graders. At Hotchkiss Elementary, they dropped their yearly average of 560 disciplinary referrals down to 50 after 2 years by incorporating a nature-based program. Schools see better attendance, behavior, cooperation, self-esteem, and motivation to learn when students have time outdoors. All people can benefit from being in nature, and schools saw that more student engagement also found that there was less teacher burnout. The National Study of Recreation and Environment found in 2001, after analyzing over 17,000 Americans, that differently abled children gained enhanced body image, positive behavior changes, improved initiative, and self-direction after attending a nature-based camp. These benefits transferred to their lives at home and in school. Nature nurtures creativity. Natural spaces and materials stimulate children's limitless imaginations and serve as the medium of inventiveness and creativity, observable in almost any group of children playing in a natural setting. Not being exposed to nature has actually been shown to be detrimental to mental and physical health. In extreme cases, this is called nature deficit disorder. What is it? It describes the human cost of alienation from nature. Among those costs are diminished use of the senses, attention difficulties, and higher rates of physical and emotional illness. Take a few seconds to listen around you. What do you hear? With what used to be the sounds of nature has been replaced with air conditioning, television, soundtracks, and transportation. The senses are tunneled, which leads to feelings of isolation and containment. Our direct experiences and physical risks are narrowing. Do you want to find out if you're experiencing nature deficit disorder? You or your students can find out by taking this survey at the link displayed on the screen now. So why don't we have more nature-based education? These trends may indicate why people are spending less of their childhood in nature than they did in the past. A separation of the public and private mind from our food's origins. We see a decrease in farmers in the family, as 99% of our animals killed in food are confined in factory farms. There has been an increase in the criminalization of nature play. One source of constriction is private government. Most housing contracts, condos, and planned communities constructed in the past 3 decades are controlled by strict covenants that discourage or ban the kind of outdoor play many of us enjoyed as children because of the threat of lawsuit. The cumulative impact of overdevelopment, multiplying park rules, well-meaning and usually necessary environmental regulations, building regulations, and fear of litigation sends a message to our children that free-range play is unwelcome. A decrease in public land has led a larger percentage of spaces turned into wildlife sanctuaries. The invasion of our cities by wild animals. There is an increase of the deer population. Historically, in Massachusetts, the deer population was controlled by mountain lions, wolves, and humans. Now that mountain lions and wolves are absent in the Commonwealth, the deer population has grown in numbers despite vehicle collision, predation by bobcats, coyotes, and black bears. This has contributed to a fear of tick-borne illnesses like Lyme. The rise of a new kind of suburban form and organized activity. Suburban is losing its natural play and replacing it with flat playgrounds and soccer fields. Our lives may be more productive, but they're less inventive. By overvaluing structured time, we may be unintentionally killing dream time. We need to find a better balance between organized activities, the pace of our children's lives, and their experiences in nature. Overscheduled, over-organized childhoods are missing a vital ingredient that children need. In the face of draconian budget cuts and test-centric education, teachers are fighting to bring nature back from overly abstract science education and the death of natural history and science studies. With natural science disappearing, kids don't know their own backyard flora and fauna. Many face ecophobia, the feeling of powerlessness, to prevent cataclysmic environmental climate change. There is a steady gradual growth of the environmental-based education movement, the schoolyard habitat movement, and the simple living movement. We are healing the broken bond between the young and the natural world from our growing realization that both our mental and physical health are linked to the natural environment. Now let's talk a little bit about Howard Gardner's theories of multiple intelligences. In order to capture the full range of abilities and talents that people possess, Howard Gardner theorizes that multiple types of intelligences include spatial, linguistic, intrapersonal, interpersonal, mathematical, musical, bodily kinesthetic, and naturalist. The eighth intelligence is nature smart, or naturalist intelligence. The core of it is that human ability to understand and recognize plants, animals, and other parts of the natural world, like clouds and rocks. All of us have this ability. Some kids and adults just excel at this pursuit. The eighth intelligence is being hijacked to deal with the world of man-made objects. We are good at distinguishing cars, brands, sneakers, instead of recognizing carnivorous animals, poisonous snakes, and flavorful mushrooms. Now, let's talk about how we educators can help bridge that gap between children and nature. Environmental and conservation groups need to work together with educators to triple their efforts to reach the young. And, more immediately, ask if our own organization's policies and cultural attitudes are subtly adding to the separation. Real dangers do exist in nature, but the threat is greatly exaggerated by the media. Instead of saying, be careful, say, pay attention, and then pay attention yourself. Children need companionship who can share the inborn sense of wonder. Rediscover with them the joy, excitement, and mystery of the world we live in. If children sense genuine adult enthusiasm, they'll want to emulate that interest. Connect your kids with nature by having a class pet, an ant farm. You can even adopt a tree. Find out what kind of tree it is, take pictures of it in its first snow, after a storm, make rubbings of its trunk, sing to it. Celebrate it on Arbor Day, lead nature clubs, nature classroom activities, and nature field trips. Exemplify the Leave No Child Inside movement. Celebrate Public Lands Day annually by volunteering at conservations of public lands. Encourage wild crafting to further gain skills and knowledge about wilderness survival. Reach out and connect your programs with agricultural associations, bird sanctuaries, nature centers, and environmental organizations. Elaine Brooks said, "Humans seldom value what they cannot name or experience." The following are some notes on bigger movements that need to be made to build a strong movement. Teachers need a public movement to leave no child inside. Such a movement should be grounded in regional networks for committed businesses, conservation organizations, civic groups, even garden clubs. These networks could work for increased funding and, just as importantly, become directly involved. They could pay for field trip transport to woods, fields, streams, parks, nature centers, bird sanctuaries, farms and ranches, and they could help educate the public. We need a nationwide review of laws governing private land and recreation, especially involving children. This review process should be public, inviting parents, children, and experts on child play. It should be done with the goal of protecting both the child's safety and the right to natural play. It should focus on reducing the anxiety of parents and children and the fear of lawyers that, even if only subconsciously, adds to modern barriers, separating children from natural play. Challenging conventional restrictions that discourage or prohibit natural play will allow us to rewrite the rules to allow kids to build forts and tree houses and to plant gardens. We can help naturalize old and new urban parks. We can also reinvent the vacant lot to adventure playgrounds or wild zones. Luckily, we are seeing trends and campaigns moving us towards a more nature-filled childhood, pushed by a growing distaste for dependence on any fossil fuels, along with concern about global warming and other environmental pressures like wildfires, natural disasters, and now COVID. Under the right conditions, cultural and political change can occur rapidly. The recycling and anti-smoking campaigns revealed how social and political pressure can transform society in a single generation. If more people considered changing to nature-oriented jobs, we would see an increase in voters and organizations that now work against the destruction of woods, fields, and watersheds. So what is Massachusetts doing? Massachusetts has multiple plans in motion to increase its nature-based learning. Mass Audubon has licensed preschools and preschool programs, as well as teacher professional development. Some of the programs nearby include the Blue Hills Trailside Museum in Milton and Moose Hill Wildlife Sanctuary in Sharon. Other Mass programs that offer nature-based learning are Boston Outdoor Preschool Network, Eastern Region Association of Forest and Natural Schools, North American Association of Environmental Education, and many, many more. I encourage you to do more research on the benefits of nature-based education and become a proponent of nature-based learning in your community. For more in-depth details, I highly recommend reading Richard Louv's Last Child in the Woods.